Today, guys, I talk about our worst enemy. And our worst enemy is ourselves. And it stops us getting so many things that we want. And oftentimes we blame the external world for why we can't get what we want. But once we start looking internally, we can see the real problem. I really feel this to be really valuable to you. And I'm saying there's some exciting things that's happening that I'm inviting you to. So please check this out. Please watch it. And you might want to look in the description to find out what I'm talking about. So the big question is this: how can dyslexics like us create a place, a community, a tribe where people at any stage of life can come and solve any challenge, amplify their strengths, and ultimately help them become who they were meant to be? Or in other words, conquer their dyslexia. That is the question, and this show is the answer. My name's Theo Goff, and welcome to the Conquering Dyslexia podcast. What's happening today, guys? I hope we're doing good. Today I want to talk to us about our worst enemy, especially when it comes to dyslexics, especially when it comes to having our problems, having our dyslexic problems. And I want to talk about our worst enemy with that, with our dyslexic problems, with ourselves, with making progress, with learning, with overcoming these challenges. Now, if I had to ask you, what's your worst enemy? Is it your dyslexia? Is it your reading problems? Is it your writing problems? Is it your boss? Is it your mum, your dad? Is it the schooling system? Is it society that's stopping you? Live the life you want to live, or do the things you want to do, or be efficient, or be good, or do really well at the job? What's stopping you? And I want this episode to really be a realization and a reflection. And sometimes you probably already know this, and just a reiteration of the worst enemy is you. In all these situations, the worst enemy is you. You're the ultimate one who creates this experience that we have that we call life. We're the one that creates it, and we're the one who dictates whether we can have a good experience or a bad experience. Whether what we're going through now is going to be something we enjoy or we hate. Whether it's something that we have a lot of fun over or we don't. We are the creators of our life. And I'm not saying this in all fluffy, daffy, motivational speaky sort of way. I'm saying this in terms of facts. I'm saying this in terms of reality. It's like in everyday life when we're doing things and we're going through life, you realise, okay, I'm in charge of this experience that's happening. I'm in charge of it. I'm in charge of what I do, what I think, how I act, how I go about things. And that's called taking full responsibility over your life, isn't it? It's called taking full responsibility over your life and also over your dyslexia. It's saying, it's up to me. This is mine. It's mine to change, no one else's. It's mine to have. And I have the ability to change it, determining what I focus on, what I do to improve, what I believe about myself. All of this is up to me to do. It's up to me to do. It's for me to change it. If I'm always focusing on, this is negative, this person's, if it feels like this person's making fun of me, no one likes me because of my dyslexia, we have to stop this self-talk, because it's all in ourself. Because there's the outside world, and then there's the inside world. And we oftentimes mistakenly combine the two, thinking what's happening on the outside directly influences what's happening on the inside, and that's not true at all. Well, that's not true at all, because oftentimes, if we're hurting on the inside, we can look at the outside and thinking, it's all the thing that's rubbish. But if we feel good on the inside, we can focus on the outside, looking what everything's good, everything's beautiful, and looking at what good is out there. Because if you understand these two worlds and the power of the inner world, the power of yourself, because whether you're winning or losing is determined by yourself, by your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own beliefs. Because someone's idea of winning can be your idea of losing. You know what I mean? If someone's there's this thing about, okay, what does it take to have a great day? You know what I mean? Let's ask in the room, and Tony Robbins was doing this story basically. And he asked in a room of over a couple hundred people at this business talk. And he basically said, okay, what makes you happy? You know what I mean? Why, if you're happy, why are you happy? Are you happy? Do you feel successful? And basically all these people put their hand up and pull upon people and said, you over there, do you feel happy? They go, yes or no. Or do you feel successful? They go, yes or no. And then he asked a really interesting question. What has to happen for you to feel successful? What has to happen for you to feel, feel happy? And there was one guy in the room that was bouncing off all the walls, that was happy as anything. And Tony Robbins asked him a question. He said, "What are you happy? Are you successful?" And the guy thought for a second. And he came, "Yeah, I'm happy and successful." And he was doing quite well at the time. And he was obviously really happy. And Tony was like, "Great, okay. What has to happen for you to feel happy and successful?" And without a second thought, this bloke just spit it out, saying, "I have to get up out my bed as long as my feet touches the floor. That means I'm going to have a happy day. That means I'm going to have a successful day." Tony said, "Interesting. So you set the game up. You make the rules so easy for you to feel successful, for you to feel happy. That's why you're always happy. That's why you always feel successful, because you set the game up for you to feel like it. So easy." And then something really, really, really interesting happened. He went around the room, and he pulled upon one of the most successful people there that everyone knew, and this is the boss of the boss. And he called upon it. It was like, "Do you feel happy and successful?" And the guy said, "No, not at all." And this is a shock to Tony, and it's a shock to everyone else in the room. But he thought this person was making tens of millions of pounds, and beautiful family, beautiful this, beautiful that. And then Tony was like, "Really? What has to happen for you to feel successful?" And this really successful guy went, "Well, my body fat has to be at 10%. I have to be doing, that I have to be making 10 million a year. Gross. I have to be doing these things. My family has to be happy all the time for me to feel happy and successful." And Tony Robbins was like, "Wow, with all of that list of all the rules of what has to happen for you to feel happy and successful, how often will you hit it?" Well, you wouldn't hit it that often. Now and again you'll feel happy and successful, but most of the time you won't. That means most of the time you'll be living this experience of life of not happy or successful. And then you might be thinking, well, of course you have to have these rules of being happy, have to have a lot of rules being happy and successful, because if you always be happy and successful without doing anything, that means you have no motivations to do something. Well, the opposite is true. If you are happy, if you feel great, if you're happy, if you're content with yourself, you'd often do more. You'd often make the bad decisions. You'd often work harder because you have more energy to do it. Because if you're stressed, if you're in a negative state, a negative emotion, that would often take away from your happiness. Okay, so I've said this little story for us to really understand. We set this game up. We set this game up ourselves to win or to lose. And it's like, even another story here. I'm setting up in 3 weeks' time, actually, on the 11th and 13th of December. I'm doing this thing called Conquering Dyslexia Live, and it's completely free for anyone to join. It's like 3 days, 20 plus hours of basically of training on how to conquer your dyslexia. I go through everything, and I'm obsessing about it. Obsessing on this is about 3 weeks from now. Obsessing on I need to get all the presentations done to make it really, really good as possible. Offer as much value to people as possible. And guess what? Of course, my mind goes, well, what happens if not people turn up? What happens if they don't like me? What happens if this? What happens if if I don't get it finished in time? What happens if people don't like it? What happens if no one shows up on the actual day? All these different what ifs. And I think them. And that I have to really understand and really try and okay, it's not like I don't have these what are called negative thoughts that can kind of push me away from taking action. I do have them. But it's about what are we going to do with them? Are these facts, or are these little just thoughts that we have? It's no, it's just a thought. And I realise my mind isn't really my mind. My mind is a 2 million old processing system designed to make us survive, not designed to make us thrive, not designed to make us happy. And I realise that, I go, okay, this is just a thought I'm thinking. And I have to move forward. So let's just see a little thought, and okay, let's see it, and let's move on. Let's just move on. The thought's not a fact. Yes, it made me feel a certain way in a little bit, but I won't dwell on it. I won't think about it for ages, because it's just something little that I came up with. It's like with us when we're at work, when we are doing things, and maybe our boss yells at us, maybe do something wrong. the worst thing we can do is dwell on it. You mean think about it over and over and over and over again. Think, how stupid was I? How did I make this mistake? You mean, how come I'm not good enough? How come I'm not smart enough? How come I can't do it? The more we dwell on it, the more we are our worst enemy. Because the quality of your life is based upon the quality of yourself. You mean the quality of your inner world. And for us really truly conquer our dyslexia, well, firstly, we must take responsibility over our inner world, over our dyslexia, and over ourselves, of our thoughts, of our focus, of our emotion, of our beliefs, of what we decide things to mean to us, on our emotions, how we feel time to time. We've got to take responsibility of these. Say, okay, we have control over these, and also really stand guard on the door of your mind. When we listen to negative stuff, or when negative stuff happens, really notice it in ourselves. Like, okay, this is what I'm doing it right now. And like, I'll give you a really good example. This is like a really good thing, like emotional intelligence. And about 2 weeks ago, I was on Tuesday and I just looked at my phone and things was happening. I was like, oh my God. And I felt this just emotion hit me. It's emotion hit me because I'm working a lot in here, like lockdown's getting me not connected, not going, not seeing a lot of people as I would normally do. I was like, oh my God, I feel so alone at this point in time. But it's just like, I know this is what my head is thinking. It's just emotion. You know what I mean? I know it's not true. I know this, I know that. It's just something that's happened, something I feel. And to be honest, it took me a good couple of days of getting over that. I was annoyed, I wanted to get over it faster, but I understood that this is just something. You mean, this ain't everything. This ain't my life. This isn't, this isn't means the be all and end all. But if I didn't question it, if I didn't have the foresight to understand what was going on, I would just say, well, this is how my life's a hellhole, my life's this, my life's rubbish. I'm not saying that having these thoughts affected my actions. Yes, they did. They did for a couple of days, and I wish they didn't. I'm working on them not doing that. But I understand them, I appreciate them, and I'm moving forward. Okay? And it's just realizing that we often are the people that are holding us back. You believe you're dumb, yeah? You believe these horrible things. And it's you holding it. It's oftentimes our story we tell ourselves about why we can't have what I want is keeping us from having what we want. So we have to start realizing, look, in order for me to conquer my dyslexia, in order for me to learn things that I want to learn, get that job, get that promotion, get whatever, it's only up to me, and I'm the only one that can do it. I must make myself better for me to do it. I must grow in myself for me to reach that peak. It's not his, it's not hers, it's not that person's fault. I'm not there. It's only up to my own. And that's kind of the message I'm going to leave here today. And also, guys, I'm so excited about this Conquering Dyslexia Live thing. I'm working so hard on it. I'll leave links down below, completely free to enter, completely free to join. Over 20 hours of free training. I'll leave a link below with this little podcast episode if you want to come along between the 11th and the 13th of December. Anyway, guys, take care, farewell, and bye.